Welcome to Tea with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose, an average millennial navigating life as a maternal health professional, nonprofit founder, and grad student. Join me in the tea tasting room where we spill the tea on finding balance and promoting positive living while doing it all. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya. Welcome back to the last episode of 2023. We will definitely be back in January where we're going to be kicking off a new season and you guys are going to be in for a treat with this new season. I am happy to have you here in the tea tasting room, and on this episode we're going to be talking about resetting and making resolutions as we prepare to end this year and welcome a new one. So usually the end of the year is a time where I like to reflect on all what I've accomplished, what I did not accomplish, what I set out to do, and what I did not meet as well as it relates to goals. So it's naturally okay and that it's naturally right that you even do a self-reflection at the end of the year, because you want to ensure that you're starting or beginning a new year on a fresh, promising start. So as we approach this time, 2023 has been a lot in so many different ways. The way in which society has changed, the world that we are currently living in. At the end of the day, I just pray for world peace, but nevertheless, it has been a lot. We've been going through a lot, honestly, if we're being honest, since 2020. But this year has been a lot in so many ways. A lot good, a lot bad, a mixture of everything. But we are going to dive into the art of resetting and ensuring that you're making meaningful resolutions as you approach a new year. Because the goal is I don't want you to enter a new year without reflecting and realizing what you did right, what you didn't do too right, and how you can better improve yourself. And when we talk about resolution, we're not just setting these resolutions just for you to not get them done. We're going to be smart with that. In the past, we talked about creating SMART goals, and that's going to be the same thing as well. So one of the things that you want to do before you decide or jump into making any sort of resolutions for a new year, you want to take some time to reflect on the year that we are leaving, the year that's passing. Think about your accomplishments, the challenges, and whatever you may have learned along the way, because reflection is really and truly one of the first steps into setting resolutions with intention, setting resolutions that are purposeful for your life. So rather than framing your goals as resolutions, we're going to think about setting intentions. So instead of reframing or framing your goals as resolution, let's think of them as intentions. We have to be intentional. And you would have heard an episode that we released called Living with Intention. Everything that you do has to have a positive and meaningful intentions, because intentions are true statements that reflect your deepest desires, even your core values. They focus on the journey rather than just the outcome. So really and truly, as you're listening to this, ask yourself, what do you truly want to achieve in the coming year and why it matters to you? So you want to start with that intention. What do you want to achieve in the coming year and why it matters to you? Sometimes we have to go back to basics. And I remember telling my sister recently, I said, I'm in my going back to the basics era of life, because we all go through different eras, different phases. But as I'm elevating, as I'm leveling up, as I'm being more intentional with how I live my life, as I become more confident with who I am as a person, one of my things is to really and truly remember my why and going back to basics. Because too many times we're trying to keep up with society or keep up with somebody else, and then we lose sight of what our core values are as an individual. So for me, I'm going back to basics, and I'm challenging you also to go back to basics. Going back to basics does not mean you are basic. There are two different things. You're going back to basics because when you were doing things in a way that not only challenged, but they were reflective of your core values, a lot of good can happen for you and to you. And I want you to take that from me, because since I've been in that era, I haven't been doing things like, going back to basics for a long period of time, but I've already seen the changes that I make. And I know for 2024, I want to make sure that I'm going back to the basics with certain things, because it's so easy to get caught up with in the social media world, like for this podcast, getting caught up with the numbers or getting caught up in the appearance and these different things. And there was a point in time where I did not give a damn about these things. My goal was, if I'm serving one person, so if I'm serving you here in the tea tasting room, I would have done my job. Of course, I want to be able to reach, let's say, a much wider audience globally. But I have to ask myself, am I prepared for that? Am I prepared for my voice to be heard in a way where I have 15 million people listening to me versus 1,000? You know what I mean? So definitely, I'm just going back to basics and going back to my core values. And I challenge you also to do that. The next thing that you want to do is to set SMART goals. That's something that has been a consistent topic on this podcast. Once you've had your intentions, whatever your intentions are, once you've made them and you've set them, you want to break these intentions down into SMART goals, because that's going to be key. Because when it comes to SMART goals, you want to make sure that your goals or your intentions, you want to make sure that they're specific. It's very important to be specific. You want to make sure that they're measurable. You want to make sure that it's achievable, relevant, and then time-bound. Think about the timing in which you want to accomplish or achieve these goals. And if you utilize this framework, it will help you with creating clear and actionable steps so that you can reach your intentions. The next thing I want to talk about is accountability. Again, I feel like this is like a recap of all my episodes from the previous season or from this current season. It's just that accountability is key. It's very key. It's a key component when it comes to reaching your goals. You cannot accomplish your goals unless you have some sort of accountability. You have to have self-accountability, and you also want to have maybe an accountability partner. That could be a trusted friend or family member, or even a mentor. Just having someone to check in with you can help you keep you on track and motivated. For me, I'm self-motivated. I can keep myself accountable. But there are days when I'm having low days where I just want to lay in the bed and watch TV all day. But then I have someone who's going to say, Tanya, remember you told me XYZ, get it done. And I'll be like, oh, I don't want to get it done. Or I try to find a way to excuse myself from doing what I said I was going to do. But they're able to hold me accountable. Not even in an aggressive way, but just, again, bringing me back to the why, bringing me back to the basics. So you definitely want to make sure that as you're setting these intentions, these goals, these resolutions, not only are you setting them with the SMART goals framework, but you want to be able to hold yourself accountable, but also have someone who you trust to hold you accountable as well. Because I'm telling you, we're bossing up in 2024. We're not going to be out here doing anything mediocre. We are leveling up. We are bossing up in 2024. You also want to think about being able to be adaptable. Sometimes in previous years that I've seen, not only for myself, even from others, we set all these grand resolutions at the beginning of the year. The minute January 1st hits, that ball drops, you are setting these resolutions, and then sometimes they fail. Sometimes you end up falling off because, again, you lack that self-adaptability. You lack that accountability. It's not realistic. And life is going to life. Life is unpredictable, and, any circumstances can change. And that's something that I've realized in my life personally recently, that life is going to hit you and you're going to have to roll with the punches. You're going to have to find a way to adapt and adjust to the different circumstances that you're dealing with in your life. So you just want to make sure that you're prepared to adjust your goals and your intentions as needed. Because, again, even if nothing is necessarily traumatic or dramatic is happening in your life, there are going to be days that you're just not in the mood. And if you're a woman who menstruates, sometimes, again, I often joke and say we only have one good week as menstruators to be normal. And even then, even that week, you don't even have it. Because one, you got to think about menstruating, and you got to think about ovulation. There's just so many things in that menstrual cycle that sometimes you're not even able to perform as your best self as well. So let's leave room for you to adjust your goals and intentions as it's needed. You want to be flexible. When it comes to being flexible, once you're flexible, that's an asset when it comes to your growth in life. Being able to be flexible. I have this bad habit about myself where I often would say I don't do well with change. And that's a lie about myself. Because one thing about me, I'm going to adjust and I'm going to adapt. But I'm going to catch an attitude first, and I'm being transparent with you. I'm going to catch an attitude that I have to take 2 deep breaths, and then, of course, I'm going to adjust and adapt. But, of course, I've come a long way. I have grown, I will say, but I'm not perfect. But you definitely want to be able to be flexible when it comes to your goals. And then, self-care. We talk about self-care all the time in this hustling and bustling and get your money, do this, do that, and chasing our goals in this here life. Our self-care sometimes get put on the back burner. And then what we think we are doing as self-care sometimes is not even enough as it is. So when you're taking care of your physical and mental and your overall physical and emotional well-being is key. It's essential for self-care. So you want to make sure going into 2024, you're going to be making sure that self-care is an important part of your daily routine. So definitely want to do that. We spoke about pouring into your emotional bank account, into your self-care bank account. You want to ensure that that is an integral part of your daily routine to ensure that you have the energy and the resilience to pursue your intentions, because that's going to be key. So I want us, as we are looking to enter 2024, don't wait until 2024 for you to start setting your goals and intentions. It's very important. For me, I will say, and I'll share this in another episode though, but your intentions, you don't have to set your intentions or your goal for an entire year. Be realistic. We spoke about SMART goals. Be realistic with your goals and your intentions. Too many times we want to sit, and while we're reflecting, we want to set our goals and our resolutions for an entire year. And then sometimes we end up failing because, again, it's unrealistic, it's not specific, it's not measurable, it's not even achievable. So think about how you can set your goals and intentions maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, maybe, the first half of the year, you write them down, but also these goals, no matter how near or far they may be, you want to ensure that you are using the SMART goals framework when it comes to that. That's one thing I want to make sure. So as we get ready to go into 2024, you want to ensure that you're setting your goals, your resolutions, but you want to do a self-reflection. The first thing you want to start with is doing a self-reflection of the things that you accomplished and the challenges that you faced and the lessons that you've learned thus far for this year. You want to set your intentions. We have to be intentional and we have to be focused, so you want to set that. You want to make sure once you set your goals and intentions that you're using the SMART goals framework. They should be specific, they should be measurable, they should be achievable, relevant, and time-bound as well. You want to ensure that you're holding yourself accountable in whatever way, shape, or form. Be accountable. Be able to adapt, be flexible, incorporate self-care, because like I say, we're bossing up in 2024. Self-care is going to be key. Whatever that may look like for you, make that happen, right? Because as we approach the close of another year, I want to encourage you to embrace the opportunity for growth and change. Resetting and making resolutions can be a transformative process, but it's very important to approach it with authenticity. Authenticity. I know if my sister's listening, she's going to laugh at me for jacking up that word. But you want to make sure that you're approaching this process with mindfulness and authenticity as well. Stay true to who you are, but also make sure that you are intentional in everything that you do. So as I leave you here in 2023, the next time you'll hear my voice would be in 2024. And I hope and pray and wish that we all are in the tea tasting room in 2024. And like I say, we're going to be bossing up in 2024. So I hope you found this episode to be an inspiration to you to get the ball rolling as you get in and as we go, regrow and we learn and evolve in 2024. So I hope you find inspiration in setting those meaningful intentions, pursuing your goals in the coming year, because we're going after everything that we put our mind to. It's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege. It's been an honor to have recorded or uploaded an episode every Tuesday for 2023. And I want to thank you for joining me in this tea tasting room every Tuesday since then, supporting me, leaving your feedback, just wanting to see me grow as well. And we are going to grow. We are going to become the boss of our health and wellness. And we're going to be bossing up in 2024 because we are going to be setting intentional resolutions or intentional goals, as we're going to be calling it, for 2024. I will see you in the tea tasting room in 2024. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tanya. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a friend Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Tea with Tanya Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the weekly Tea Talk newsletter. And of course, rate on Apple or Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen. See you next time. I love you for listening.